What daily mountain bike maintenance should you do when on a road trip?
Have you been traveling on a mountain bike road trip and you're riding your bike day after day and you're camping and you're in really remote areas and you never have access to all the things you need to really clean your bike, and you're starting to go, oh my gosh, this is a lot of abuse to my bike? Well, I've got two things to show you that will really help maintain your mountain bike when you're on the road in remote areas, to keep your bike surviving the abuse that you put into it until you get home and you can really do all the proper things to take care of it.
Clean and lube your drivetrain and your stanchions.
So, hey, I'm Emma Marinin. I'm a professional mountain biker. I focus on mountain bike marathon and mountain bike stage racing. Oh, that's a tongue twister. I am here in Washington. I'm in the Kettle Creek Range. It's fall and the temperatures are getting really nice and cool, but the rain still haven't come. So the trails are really dusty and it can really be hard on my components. All that little fine particles get into all the nooks and crannies. So this is the bike I've got with me on this trip. It's my Pivot Trail 429. It's kind of my favorite do-it-all, everything fun mountain bike. Great for riding trails I don't know particularly well. Gets me out of a lot of trouble. And every day when I'm done riding, before I settle into post-trail fun having with my friends, I take care of two things on my bike. Like, no surprise, cleaning and relubing my chain so my drivetrain has as little friction and abuse from all those little dust particles. And then the second thing I always do is I always take care of the stanchions. On this bike, that means I actually have four to take care of. It's the two that are on my fork, the one that's on my shock, and then also my dropper seat post. If you don't clean and lubricate these pieces, you can get little fine abrasions that happen on those stanchions, and it just makes it so that they don't work as well. Also, you can shove some of that grime deep down into the mechanics of your shock fork and dropper seat post, and that generally kind of makes things just be a little crunchy, and especially for dropper seat posts, that's what makes a lot of them start to become a little sticky, slow, unreliable for riders. So taking care of those can make such a difference. So I'm going to show you how or what I do to take care of those pieces.
Here's the supplies you'll need.
Okay. Trick of the trade for me are to have a few things. I love the KS Post Paste. When I'm traveling, this is what I use on all of my stanchions. When I'm at home, I actually have a stanchion lube, but this will work just fine. And then I am a real believer in waxing my chains. And when I travel and I don't have outlets, obviously I can't bring my hot pot and wax my chain, though I do actually bring an extra chain with me. But this wax on liquid lube is amazing with a wax chain. No dust is gonna stick to this thing, so it survives a whole lot better. So I've got those with me. Let's see, I always have a rag and then some paper towels to clean the stanchions.
You'll need to clean more than just your chain.
So obviously cleaning your chain is super easy. I just have a nice micro cloth that works super well for me. And again, because I use wax and a wax lube, I don't have a lot of grossness on my chain, but I still just want to spin it around and make sure I pull any of that dust off. I also like to hold it right by my chain ring and make sure I clean any dust off of there, and I get it from behind as well. I'm also going to come and grab my little cogs, and this is hard to do facing backwards from the way I normally do it, but I can get any grime knocked off of those, any residual lube that might be there if you're using more of a liquid lube. So I've got those on, then I'm just gonna shake up my wax lube. This stuff is awesome in that you just put a very thin layer on both sides sides of your chain. So spinning it around, I'm gonna hit the bottom. And then I've gotten the top. Again, magic stuff. And then I'm just going to wipe any excess lube off my chain. And I have a little left on my fingers, so cleaned up. So now I've got my chain that's been cleaned and re-lubed, and it'll sit overnight, and all that'll get in there. If you use a wet lube, you're gonna wanna make sure you wipe it off before you ride your bike the next day. If you use something like a wax lube, there's nothing to wipe off. It just kind of all nicely dries on there. So take care of your chain. Your drivetrain will love you for it.
Now to clean those stanchions.
Cleaning stanchions is really easy. You're gonna want some sort of stanchion lube or a post paste, just a specific lubricant that's meant to go on the stanchions. You don't want to use like the same sort of lube that you use in your chain. Totally different material, different chemicals. Don't. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this lube and you're gonna put it all along the dirty stanchion. I just put a ring all the way around, pretty low to where the stanchion goes like into the fork on my fork. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna press my suspension up and down several times, and then I'm just gonna take a paper towel and I'm gonna wipe off all the grime that's come out, and I'm just gonna repeat it several times until there's no more grime coming out from doing that cleaning process. So really simple. Just put a little bit of the lube on my finger. I'm just gonna put a small amount around both my stanchions on my fork. It's just a thin layer, it's not a ton. Then what I'm gonna do is just compress that stanchion. Okay, so this is what the stanchion looks like when I put the first application of lube on it and compress it a few times. And you can see how much grime came out in that lube and is still around the seal there. So I'm gonna wipe that off and go again. Press that up and down a few times. I'm gonna take my paper towel and I'm gonna make a ring of it around my stanchion and see, ugh, this is gross. My bike's gonna be very happy that I'm doing this to it. And blah, yuck. That's what came off of that stanchion. So there's not much lube left on there, so I'm just gonna redo it on this side. So put a little stuff around. And so what happens is the dust just gets trapped up in this special lubricant, and so it'll just pull it out so it doesn't end up in the fork. And again, it's also cleaning and lubricating those stanchions. So taking a clean part of my paper towel and cleaning around again, making sure I'm getting right at that little seal all the way up to the top. And taking enough, ooh, and there's still a little bit of grime, but it's a whole lot better than it was. So I'm gonna do one more round of this. You know, really exciting, right? But I will do the same process on my fork and my dropper seat post. And obviously I'll do the same thing on the other side of my fork. But around, and I can just see the grease that's on here is already looking pretty darn clean. All right, so the proof in the pudding, I've now cleaned this stanchion 3 times, and look how shiny and dirt-free that is. Ready to go ride. So yeah, just got that clean. There's hardly any gunk that came off of that. So now the whole stanchion is nice and lubed. All the grime has been removed for that, so there's nothing to get shoved down inside the fork that'll speed up how often I have to have it overhauled. I have a very similar process for taking care of my shock and my dropper dropper seat post. Get them, take a little bit of the post paste, put a ring of lubricant around the seal. Ooh, that is really gross. And then I'm also going to do the same on my dropper seat post. Just put a nice ring of post paste around both. Super easy to then work the dropper seat post. I'm just going to press it down. I'm going to do that just a few times. Ew, another grimy post with a little bit of lubricant put in there. Yuck. Let's get that clean. And then wipe off around that seal and clean up. Oh, look at that. Look how beautiful that whole dropper seat post is. That is going to guarantee a whole bunch of awesome saddle up and saddle downs with no fuss. My fork, put my seat down. I'm gonna just swing over my bike and hold on to anything I can, and I'm just gonna jump up and down, making sure that I really get that shock to compress a bit, and then slide off. Okay, so this is all the grime that came out in just that very first cleaning of the shock on this bike. And one thing is like what to do with the ring. I just push it out of the way while I'm cleaning them, and then I'll make sure I clean it as well and just slide it all the way back up to the top. And then I'll wipe the grime off of that and just repeat it over and over until it comes off clean. And look at that. Look how pretty and clean that is. Just another note about doing this. Make sure you wipe off all additional lubricant so it's pretty, it'll just be ever so slightly slick to the touch, but you won't be able to see anything. And that's just gonna make sure that you don't get extra dust and grime sticking to your stanchions when you go ride next. Those are the two things that I do after every single ride when I'm on the road and I don't have the ability to take care of my bike like I normally do at home. And it's gonna just make sure that I don't put excessive wear and tear into my drivetrain, that my dropper seat post is going up and down smoothly and quickly for me. I don't have any issues with that, and that my suspension is not taking any abuse and is able to do all the work I want it to do. So super simple to do those things. It should take you like 2-3 minutes tops to run through all of those things, and before you know it, your friends will be envious that your bike is handling so much better than theirs on like day 6 of a mountain bike road trip.
Thanks for watching. Help me out by liking this video.